Hello and welcome back to Will's World, where we don't just have one obsession, we have 100. And today's obsession is going to be talking about Pokemon. As you can probably tell from the title, it's a bit strange. I've called it the Pokemon problem. So it seems like at the moment, obviously, Pokemon is in the news, probably for all the wrong reasons. This negativity, the idea that the hobby is in crisis, and I'm not disagreeing with that because I can't possibly make that assumption because as I'm going to get into, my relationship with Pokemon as the hobby is quite unique and maybe has influenced the perspective I have. Obviously prismatic evolutions has become scarce. There's a lot of scalping going on, a lot of fights going off. It's all very toxic, and on top of that you then have a lot of YouTubers, which is their prerogative. I'm not here to discuss what people make videos of. You should see some of my videos, but there seems to be this idea now of talking about the Pokemon problem, and as my title suggests, I feel like that could become a little bit of a problem. I think it's important that Pokemon influencers, YouTubers or whatever discuss this, and I'm talking more kind of like the bigger ones. I think some of the smaller YouTubers like myself who will make videos on it is probably more relevant, because I feel like that's probably more representative of the average Pokemon collector. So as all YouTube creators will know, content creators, is the fact is that negative videos will garner far more views, likes, subscriptions, whatever, than positive ones. That's just the way the world works. It's the way people consume media these days. And so obviously at the moment you would probably find a lot of videos discussing this issue, and perhaps people wondering where on earth the hobby is going. From my perspective, I've got a unique relationship to Pokemon because I've dipped in and out over the years. I'm of the first generation, Generation 1, when Pokemon Blue first came out. That was my game. I then got into the anime and the cards. And probably from base to jungle to fossil to rocket, that was my era. Stopped collecting after that. Really wasn't into, like, when they introduced all the new Pokemon, for whatever reason, that just didn't float my boat, and I'd already kind of moved on to like wrestling, I think, at the time. And so after having quite an intensive obsession, and I didn't just stick to the cards because they weren't readily available to me. They, to go to like a card shop or find places that sell them was a reasonable distance away, whereas our corner shop actually had the Topps cards, and I collected quite a lot of those because at least every weekend I'd be able to go and pick up 1 or 2 packs of the Topps cards, along with some other merchandise, such as, like, there were lollipops that had the Pokemon on a stick, and it was like sweet, and bubble gums, and then the occasions that we would go to Toys R Us, they bouncy balls with the little figure inside, and all kinds of other stuff. I was big on Pokemon in general, and I know some people may have just stuck to the cards, and that's probably why they had more extensive collections than I did. And then I took a break, like I said, moved on to wrestling, moved on to other things, and my next involvement would have been probably about 17, 18. I started playing Pokemon Yellow, which I picked up really cheap, and that became fun for a while. And then not until really Pokemon Go came out, I wasn't immediate to the hype. It was kind of everyone else had it, and I downloaded it for a bit, but I wasn't really a big fan. I'm not really a big fan of mobile games, really. And I bought 1 pack of Evolutions because that was a nice nostalgic hit. Seeing those packs that were kind of recreations of the ones I collected, but I think I only got like a Doug Trio as the rare, so it was very disappointing. Although I did get a Charmeleon, who is my favourite Pokemon. Then I took another break, and it wasn't really until lockdown where I'd bought a few packs of Amazon, which in hindsight is not a good idea, because looking back now, they were definitely reseals. Just wasn't aware of it at that time. In my opinion, Pokemon was still a thing, but I didn't realise quite how big and how much money could be made from stuff like this. My daughter had got into the anime at the time, and so that was like a nice little thing to share. And then we fast forward to 2021, so after another small gap, I started watching content creators such as Leon Hart, and then a little bit of PokeRev, and that was something that that was quite comforting at the time. I didn't have a lot of mental energy to spare, and it was quite nice just to watch people opening packs, especially at the time, not a lot of us had seen videos of opening base set, jungle, the Gen 1 kind of sets. And so I picked up a few cards, then a few packs of Astral Radiance, Brilliant Stars, Celebrations, and I've still got some sealed, but that's not me like trying to speculate on them or sell them, because even at this point I don't think you're going to make a lot of money on what you paid for it. And they're just there now for me and my daughter to open at a future date. Unless like they go crazy, I'm not really interested in kind of flipping them or making a profit on them, because I enjoy opening them with my daughter. And I think that leads on to where I think the trouble is going to end up coming from the hobby is people have lost enjoyment, and anything negative, anything that becomes a negative obsession can impact your love of the hobby. I mean, I use my personal example of from about 2014-15 to a couple of years ago, wrestling was my kind of obsession, my one obsession. I had lots of other interests at the side, but if I was going to have any free money to spend, it was going to be on wrestling stuff. And then I think I just wore it out a little bit. In the last few years, unless it was like CM Punk related, I probably wasn't going to dip into it too much as well, because it wasn't going through the best time. There was a lot of negativity surrounding it. That kind of made me feel negative. There's obviously a lot going off last year in the real life with negative consequences, which again impacted my interest in the hobby. And I'm just worried that Pokemon might end up the same way if this problem doesn't find a solution soon. What that solution is, I'm not really sure. I'm not here to disagree with anyone's opinion, whether scalpers and whatever is the right thing. Should people buy that? Should it be limited? Because I'm not involved on that on the ground level, so I can't make a decision. I haven't got an opinion on what it is, and I really don't know what the solution is, other than I think we need to just scale it back a little bit and try and value the small joys. So for me, recently, check out on the channel, we opened a couple of packs of Light Obsidian Flames, and we got a couple of hits. I think we did Surging Sparks as well. Reasonable hits. At least they weren't just kind of, you don't get non-hollows now, but at least they weren't just kind of basic non-hollows. But the best card that we pulled was this one, which is Charmander. And obviously that's not going to fetch anything really, but the reason why it was so wonderful was because that is my daughter's favourite Pokemon. So to open cards with her and pull a card of her favourite Pokemon means so much more to me than, obviously a different card being pulled, even one that was worth, 10 times that or whatever. Even if we pulled that amazing Pikachu card, I'd be happy. I'd obviously probably sell that, but at the same time, I'll probably still have more sentimental value in opening that card. And I think now with all the ridiculously fast openings, people are not paying attention to any of the cards that aren't really expensive and valuable, which then leads on to the problem of people rushing out to buy these sets for the chance, not even the chance of opening them and getting it, but the idea of having something with the potential. So that's why a base set booster box will be worth more, because people think there is a Charizard in there and there's that chance. It's the gambling aspect of it. You don't know, you are taking that risk, but the chances are you're betting your money that there will be one in there and you will recoup at least some of the money that you have on that product. Whereas, what I do now is, if I fancy it, I'll pick up a few packs and, eventually I'll get around to opening it. And I think some of the individual cards are just getting lost in the shuffle. Are we getting to the stage where we potentially cards in the future? Obviously, people need all the basics and what have you to play the game. But are we going to get to a place soon where we might have packs of 3, like the small packs, and it's just going to be all hits, but obviously varying degrees of hits. And we might even get to a stage where we just get packs full of shiny or rare cards. And obviously they will just put the price up on those, and so that would probably price them out of maybe kids or even TCG players who are starting out. So, you know, like I said, that's just my opinion. You know, do I think this will pass? Absolutely. You know, if anything has been proven with Pokemon, and particularly even in my kind of situation where I've gone obsessed out, whatever, and it's just been a sequence of that, this will die down, and yeah, people are going to have all this stock, but that'll probably work in their favour, and maybe eventually it'll trickle down to people, but currently it's just obviously negative headlines, and we'll just have to see what the solution will be, but I think it genuinely will just pass. So anyway, that's my opinion, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you soon with more videos on many obsessions. As always, please take care, and peace, love and prayers.